Hey guys, it's Vera Sweeney and I'm here with Keri Glassman, and I'm really excited because if you are following my YouTube videos, you know that I am trying really hard to start a healthy lifestyle over the last few weeks. And so I'm sitting with the one and only, and I just have to ask her right off the bat, how did you come up with the 8-pillar philosophy?
Okay, so the 8 pillars of a nutritious life is something that I always say it was sort of just innate in me truly before I was even a nutritionist. And then once I became a nutritionist, I really developed it further. So I'll try to keep a long story short. I'll try. I'll go way back, even to when I was in college. I've always had this very strong interest in nutrition. And I always remember, I played 2 sports in college, and I remember when I ate well, I would obviously do better on the athletic field. And then I remember I'd also just be more motivated to even, let's say, study and to eat healthy, and then I'd sleep better. And it was just always something that I remember thinking about, but from a little bit of a, I didn't think about it too closely, but it was something I just always was very, aware of. Fast forward, my first job was not in nutrition. When I went back to school for nutrition, I learned obviously a little bit more about, of course, nutrition, a lot more about nutrition and how it fuels you obviously for the athletic field, but also just for life. And then I learned a little bit more. At the time, studying the connection between weight and sleep and stress really was not so popular as it is now. There wasn't nearly as much, but I did learn a little bit about that. And then when I started my private practice, when someone would come into my office, because of my own personal experiences, something I always talked to them about from the very beginning was actually the logo of my first logo of my company, when it was even a different name, For Nutritious Life, had a little picture for a brain with a little arrow going to a bed, with a little arrow going to a drop of water, and then a little arrow going to an apple. Anyway, showing how all these things went together to create this healthy, what became sort of the nutritious life cycle. So I always, going back almost 15 years, I always ask clients about their sleep and their stress. And then as I learned more and more about nutrition, I just connected it from a level of the physiological level. I always talk to my clients about the physiological connection. For example, when you don't sleep well, your hunger hormones raise the next day. But you also, behaviorally, you kind of think to yourself, I really want that bagel and cream cheese, or I really want that bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. So, and that just becomes your habit when you're sort of maybe not well rested, right?
Yes.
So there's the behavioral and the physiological connection, and so really it's just developed. Like I said, I sort of thought about it personally even before I was involved in nutrition, and then it's really evolved over the years, and I've just studied more and more about the connection, and then of course worked with lots of people. So I've seen anecdotal, evidence of how these things work together.
Yes. And now, for me, for example, I'm just starting to take this path.
Okay.
I was recently diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, and they have told me I have to start eating better and just to get control of that. So it's forcing me to really look at my lifestyle. What would you say would be your top 3 tips to get somebody on the right path? Like, okay, you're just getting started.
Yeah.
Take these top 3 and then move forward and do other things. But here's my real top 3 tips.
Well, there's so much you can think about, right? There's so many. So top 3 would probably vary person to person a little bit, but let's just say top 3 sort of general tips. I would say to eat just as much real food as possible. Just eat real food consistently throughout the day. And that sounds really simple, but so many people, especially you're a mom of 3, right? Kids are, you're busy, you're running around. Kids that often there's lots of packaged foods around. You're running to drop-offs, pickups, doing lots of different things. Sometimes it's really hard to just eat fresh, real food. So I would say to really focus on eating whole, fresh, real foods, healthy fats, lean protein, and then high fiber, low sugar grains, carbohydrates. Okay. So that would be the first thing. Then I would also say to really get rid of all sugar and sweets. That's just something that people really absolutely overdo. So get rid of all the sugar and sweets. And then the next thing I'd say, since this is on topic today, I would say focus on all the other areas of a nutritious life. I know that's a big one, and that's not really one thing, but even just take one of the pillars of a nutritious life, like drink up, and focus on that with as much sort of diligence as you are the food. So for example, focus on drinking up, staying perfectly hydrated, and then maybe you can move on to also focusing on the sleep and focusing on the stress. So if you focus on eating real foods, taking out the sugar and staying properly hydrated, that's a good start.
Speaking of properly hydrated, how did you get aligned with Ocean Spray and their new, let me just show you the product actually, the new product pack.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's New York City. I always say that whenever I'm doing videos in my apartment or something, I'm like, it's New York City, what can we do? Anyway, so, well, I've been talking about, that was really good English. I have been talking about antioxidants for years.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember when I wrote a book called The O2 Diet where I focused really heavily on antioxidants. So cranberries have always been a huge food that I've just loved because of obviously all the super powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory benefits. So when I met up with Ocean Spray, I thought the product was really cool because it's drinking up obviously is a big pillar of a nutritious life. And what's amazing about Packed is that it contains packs that are then added to water. Packs are those compounds found deep inside the cranberry that help to cleanse and purify the body, and they act as antioxidants and anti-inflammatory agents. So I just thought it was a really interesting product with, again, like the great antioxidant value, and goes right along, again, like I said, with one of the pillars of nutritious life, drinking up. And so there you have it.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I'm really excited, and check out her YouTube channel right here. I'm going to put the URL for you to check it out, and stay tuned for more.